Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Francesca with No Longer Silent. I am so glad to be back. So glad. I was a little under the weather. So today's topic is going to be the tragedy of murder, suicide. Please don't ask me why I picked that topic, but we got to talk about it. We have a lot of situations going on all over the world, in the city and the states, where people are committing murder, and also at the same time they commit suicide because they figure if they go to jail, they're going to be there for lifers. As I usually start, I start with a poem with my topic. Later on, I would be putting on a beautiful song so you can hear it with my topic. So before I even start, I want to acknowledge every single woman on my podcast a happy International Women's Day for the month of March. But we celebrate Women's Day every single day because we rock. We multitask and we do a bunch of stuff. God gives us the serenity and the gift of childbirthing. Men can't do that, so a little joke there. So as we begin, bear with me. The weather has been absolutely wicked all this week. I know everybody has allergies, and I am overcoming that. So hopefully I don't sneeze or cough tonight, but just bear with me. So why does love hurt? Explain why does love hurt? Love is a river in our life. It flows. A small seed that grows, a flower without beauty, a beauty without a face, ageless without origin, sweet like sugar, bitter like liquor. A special supernatural force that causes hearts to attract to another half or to form one part. When this river stops, the flower will die. Sometimes our eyes will cry. Sugar turns to salt. Sometimes it's not our fault. Our lives are bitter, two hearts designed forever. Divided, it hurts because love was meant forever. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but sometimes love is not forever. It's momentarily if you know how to keep the relationship together. Wow, I kind of like that. That matched. That kind of matched. Absolutely. Love can be forever. It just depends on the situation and the two that are involved. As always, I talk about a sensitive subject. Sometimes people don't like to talk about that, but I'm here for it. And usually they don't like the subject, but we have to talk about realistic stuff that's happening. And we do see a lot of situations that are going on more and more in the news. On being informed, there's lots of murders. There's lots of, if I can't have you, no one can't. And now the statistic is where the individual does proceed to murder the girlfriend, the wife, and commit suicide. Coward move, but, it happens. Sad but true. But let's get to the nitty-gritty of the background of murder, suicide. Are extremely rare, yet they tend to receive a disproportionate amount of media coverage. We do know that the news often puts, the video, graphic footage, and sometimes there's a must-see so we can help others along the way. That this is something you shouldn't be doing. I can't get into somebody's head why they would even try to murder their partner. People want to say it's mental health, and there's a factor to that, of course. I would be remiss that mental health plays a big part of that. So murder-suicide, when a person kills a member of their family before taking their own life, or where an individual murders a number of people in a public place, such as a school, before taking their own life. They generally accept the definition of murder-suicide. So often when they decide what they're going to do, I call it premeditated. Premeditated is that they think about the situation and they act on it, and they know exactly what they're going to do, and then they decide their fate of what they're going to do to themselves. 9 out of 10, sometimes they don't succeed to do it, and they know the aftermath is that you're going to get caught and go to jail. So they know that. They generally accept the definition of murder-suicide, followed by the suicide of the perpetrator. Within a week, they are planning how they're going to execute what they're going to do. However, different definitions have been used by researchers that this makes accurate like comprehensive difficulties. Why they say comprehensive difficulties? We have seen many times in the news, and sometimes I don't like watching it, but it's something that it helps me also to inform and be able to do the podcast. When I see family members that are killed, just the other day I saw a case that just came to a close where the son beat up the father and killed him. And he was arrested. But as I'm watching the footage, which was very graphic, of what he did to his father, I was trying to think what was so terrible that the dad did that he would do this. He shot his father and put him in the back of the truck. So you got to see exactly everything he did. He dragged him, killed him, and dragged him and threw him on the truck like he was some piece of garbage. That's awful. What to be aware of, as with other suicide, there is evidence of that reporting murder-suicide can lead to copycat incidents. We see a lot of that. Years ago, there was an individual that watched video games and decided to blow up a daycare where he killed a bunch of little babies and kids roughly under the age of 5. Everybody knows that his name was Timothy McVeigh. He made the homemade bombs in his home, thought about exactly what he was going to do, and parked the truck in front of the daycare and proceeded to do this. And the aftermath is that he killed over, if I'm not mistaken, under 300 children in that facility. Prayers up to the family that are still dealing with this. They do the anniversary almost every year. I can't look at it on TV because I have grandkids of my own, just about the same age, and I would never, ever want to see myself in that position. The grief and the hurt and the pain and what goes through these people's head when they do this. As parents, sometimes we have to, sometimes our children don't like that, but we have to be mindful and look into their rooms. You know, it's not invading their privacy. It's actually looking and spotting stuff that you see that's not the norm, so you can pick up on situations, because we have children that get bullied. We have children of the home environment that they think they're not worthy. School-wise, if they're being bullied and they can't say nothing, they think their outlet is committing suicide, and they do not know the hurt they leave behind when they do this. So we have to be mindful and look into our children, even if it's adult children that still live with us. Look into the rooms and see anything that you see that's off and address it. You know, your home, your rules, you pay the rent. Even if they're there, you have to talk to your child or your adult child and let them know, I seen this in your room. What's up? What's going on? Let's talk about it. This new generation that we have now, we have to be extremely, extremely careful. I'm tapping into the schools because I did graduated from bullying life coach, and there's been a rise of a lot of bullying in the schools where the children fear coming to the school. They tell their parents that they can't take the bullying. Sometimes they're being hit. And words, I always say, is sticks and stones, but this new generation don't believe in sticks and stones. It believes in, you know, offering themselves, which is awful, because no one would like to bury their children. I sure don't. The reason why someone chooses to murder others and then to take their own lives are extremely complex. The academic literature available suggests that risk factors can include serious mental health problems and substance misuse. We can't decide that, substance abuse is on the rise. We have kids under the age of 13 vaping. They don't know the harmful of using that. Very, very harmful. And a lot of the suicide has to do with mental health. If they don't get any type of counseling, we have school counseling. They're very good, and sometimes they don't want to talk about their problems, but we have to. As they grow up, that situation gets worse and worse, and then we have a Timothy McVeigh, God forbid, which is extremely awful. The sudden and shocking nature of murder-suicide can have a profound impact on the communities in which they take place and the traumatic effects that may last for a long time. Absolutely. We don't, as a mother, I would never, ever be able to forgive myself if one of my children were to do some of the heinous stuff that these individuals did. I wouldn't be able to get up in the morning and realize the fact that one of my children did this, and blame myself and start with the finger pointing. What did I see or what did I not see? Where were the red flags to this situation? So we have to be very, mindful. Kids, they're not even minds. If I see them thinking too much, I sit down with them. I'm like, what's up? What's going on? Call me. Here's my number. And let me tell you, they do call me, and they be like, Miss Francesca, I need to speak to you. I had a bad day in school, and this happened, or I had a bad day at home. This happened, and I talk to them. They're over the age of 18. And I speak to them and I ask them, how do you feel about that situation? Do you feel comfortable speaking to your mother and your father? And sometimes they say no. And I ask them why. Oh, because they're not going to understand. And I tell them, try. Try. Because we have to be mindful also that sometimes we have parents that don't care. That if they do come up to them and say, listen, Dad or Mom, this is happening, and they don't listen, that's where we're wrong. That's where we're creating another issue, and then we wonder why. And we can't wait till that leads up to that. So I have mentored children under the age of 18 and over, and it doesn't surprise me at all some of the stuff that come out of their mouths. They feel comfortable speaking with me, and I like that. A couple have got counseling and school counseling, which is good. So if I'm an outlet and I can help the parents, hey, I sign up for it. So, and it makes me feel good that they don't think of doing anything to themselves, because I actually took a case last year where a young lady was cutting herself. I got to see her in person and actually saw what her arms and her legs looked like and asked her, why were you doing this? No, my mom don't listen to me. In school, they bother me. And I cut myself is because it makes me feel good. The pain is fixing.
Francesca, this is Brian.
Hey, sweetheart, how you doing? How you doing?
I just got in the house, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to you. And I miss you. I miss you from being on the air, but I know even the great ones need a break.
Thank you. I was under the weather, but I'm still there. This weather's kicking allergies real bad. But I'm here. I'm here, and
I'm glad to hear you, and I'm glad everyone's there. And we're gonna help each other tonight. We're gonna help each other get through this thing.
No, absolutely. What's your opinion on this murder-suicide topic that I have tonight? What's your opinion on a man's point of view? This stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis that I'm seeing, where they, hurt their partner. It happens in the family too, in the household, where, they commit the murder and then they know where they're going, and they figure, well, if I kill myself in this situation, then I don't have to worry about going to jail. that's not an outlet, you know. And like
in my opinion, that's taking the coward's way out. I mean, you know, I'm very old school, and I was raised under the influence that it's consequences to your actions. And unfortunately, we're living in a time where people don't want to take responsibility for their actions, and they take the easy way out. It's the same thing as suicide by cop. You know, it's the same incidents. You know, instead of doing the prison time, I'm going to do something that's going to cause these officers to kill me. It's the same thing that you're just talking about. Unfortunately, a part of it is mental health as well. You know, everything is not cowardly. It's a part of cowardice. It's a part of mental health as well. It's a part of rejection. It's a multiple of things that cause people to do that. So we just got to try to stay vigilant with our families, with our friends. And, you know, I would just say just check on your friends or your family, you know. Just because somebody's smiling don't mean everything's okay.
I'm glad you said that, you know, because it's absolutely true. I always, you know, text people, good morning, how you doing? And off and on, I get a couple like, oh, I'm having a bad day. And in my schedule from work, I'll ask my patient, like, listen, someone's having a bad day. Let me just make sure that everything's okay. And I don't do a text. I call and I'll be like, listen, I just saw what you texted me. What's up? What's going on? And usually it's something in the household, and I'll take my 10, 15 minutes speaking to the person. And after a while, they'll feel a little better. But sometimes, like you just said,
Francesca. You know, because, you know, a text message or email, that's not appropriate, because you can't hear when something's wrong. A phone call with someone that you're close to or that you frequently talk to, you can hear through their voice when something is not right, opposed to them sending you an email, yeah, I'm okay, or a text message, yeah, I'm just fine. That's not going to cut it. You'll be able to hear someone's response through a live conversation if they're okay or not. And I just think that you know, I'm going to go back to COVID. COVID caused us to be inside, isolated, no human contact, virtual learning, and now that it's risen, we as a society has lost our human contact, you know. And the more technology comes on to this planet, the more or less we need people, and I think that's a really bad thing, you know, because we are creatures that need human contact, you know. So for me, I try to do as much human contact as I can. I try to reach out to my friends. I try to, you know, do the best I can for my family, strangers, or whoever it is, you know, because this world we're living in right now, it's a lot of hurting people, Francesca, and a lot of hurting people walking around out here. And unfortunately, a lot of it is mental health. A lot of people off their meds, a lot of people depressed. So it's up to people like you and I and others that are on the battlefield for this thing called positive living. We just got to be aware. And I think the most important thing is that those of us that are in this type of business, we got to encourage each other, because at the end of the day, we get tired too, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. On a day-to-day basis, well, you're on the run and you're doing what you got to do in the morning, me too. And I'm glad you brought up COVID, because in COVID, we had a lot of situations that were addressed to me where there was a lot of child abuse, there was a lot of domestic abuse, there was a lot of that stuff. There was a lot, and it was very sad to hear, because sometimes, you know, you weren't, like, as for me, I had to be out of work for at least a month before I could go back to my patients. But I was talking to them by the phone because we didn't know exactly what COVID was, and everybody, you know, scared. So being in the house when you're not used to it and looking at the walls, you know, sometimes I'm going to be honest, I went completely crazy. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I'm very transparent. Everybody that knows me here, you know me. I'm very active. I was scratching my hands. my shoulders, looking at the wall. I said, I'm not a TV person. I would open the door to go outside for a few minutes to get air, come back up here, and I caught bad anxiety. Bad anxiety. So if that was me.
And you weren't alone. You weren't alone, Francesca. A lot of people, when COVID came on the scene, first of all, we in this generation, and I think probably for the whole society, had never been through an incident where everything was closed.
Exactly.
You know, everything was closed. Stay in the house. You're gonna die. People are dying all around you. It was traumatic. You know, this COVID-19 was traumatic. So you know, I think we learned something as people. I think we learned how important it is to have human contact. I think that's what we learned of the whole COVID thing. Is that human contact is important for your mental health. For your mental health. Human contact keeps your mental health stable, you know. So we're grateful that it's lifted, and we're going to keep doing the work, Francesca. We're going to keep doing the work.
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm glad you brought up COVID because we need human contact, but also that we know from COVID is that we were also like limited to what we can purchase. If you notice that we were limited to that too, so there was like a time frame of when you can go to the store, what items you can purchase, and we had a lot of people. How many? Anxiety level when you couldn't get the item either and went the next day very early, and you was told it was like two items per family, and that brought a lot of anxiety to a lot of people where you was just limited to certain things apart from being at the home too. And virtual was something that I have to say that it was implicated, it was necessary, but it also failed our children. It failed our academically.
I think that was a really big injustice. I think that was a really big injustice to our kids. The virtual learning, I don't think did them any good at all. I mean, some might disagree with me, but that's my opinion. Kids have to learn how to resolve their conflicts, and virtual learning took away all contact. Kids was unfocused. A lot of them, unfortunately, a lot of our kids don't live in good environments to learn, and school is their good environment to learn or to be with their peers. So I think our kids suffered the most. If you had to ask me, I think our kids really, and I think they're still struggling to find themselves back again.
No, exactly, and I agree. That was stuff that I observed during that era, which is not over yet, where we still have to be safe. And they're still, still trying to. Not do virtual, because we have sometimes situations that arise with the weather and stuff that they have to do virtual. It's not the same thing like you said, Brian. Human contact is so important. They probably love seeing their teachers, love, their peers and stuff. And if it was hard on us, I can just imagine with the children, it was even rougher.
Absolutely. I always try to think like this. Like, as an adult, you got to think, what's hard for us? What about the kids? You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's hard for us as adults, then what about the kids? Like, you only imagine what they go through, because unfortunately, kids don't learn by what they hear. They learn by what they see. And, when they see us as adults struggling or whatever the case may be, then it affects them, It affects them, And unfortunately, we got to do a better job of taking care of our kids. And I'm raising my hand on that, too.
No, absolutely. Me too.
Taking care of our kids,
No, absolutely. We have to, like I said, we have to talk to our children. Back in the days, I have to tell you, back in the days, I was that military mom. They called me that way because my children were not, and they know, they can testify that they were not allowed to go outside if I wasn't around. I was that very protective. Absolutely. Reason being because if you got in trouble who paid for the situation was me. And I don't want that that problem. And I was that mom that I looked in your drawers because I said, I pay rent. The day you guys turn 18 and you leave, then you on your own, you do what you want. But in my household, I had to check them dressers, underneath them bags,
That's right.
book bags. No.
That's right. That's right. Because as you know, Francesca, a lot of parents today, they don't go in their kids' rooms, they don't check their bags, they don't watch anything that they're doing, and then when the child turns around and does something that's totally horrific, the parents are totally clueless. Because they don't check, and I don't blame the parents, because a lot of parents are working hard trying to provide, and they're exhausted when they come home. You got a lot of single parents out here. They're trying to maintain living quarters, trying to maintain themselves, and it can be kind of difficult. But at least one day a week, I would say one day a week, go through your kids' drawers, phone, laptop, or whatever, just to keep a check on what's going on, because you never know. You never know.
No, absolutely. I'm one of them moms. I do that with my grandkids too. I check their book bags.
Mm-hmm.
I check their book bags. I ask my grandkids, the ones that can talk, how was school? How was everything? Did anything happen unusual in school? Let's talk about it. Because I'm trying to implicate what I did with my children, with them too, and I have an open communication with my grandson where he can tell me, I don't care what it is, anything. And I like that. And I try to keep
that. You need to keep that.
Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. You had the honor of meeting him Saturday, and you can see that.
Yes, I did. What a pleasure. What a pleasure.
And that relationship of me and him is so platonic that he basically could tell me anything. There was an incident in the school that I said a couple of weeks ago here in the podcast. He was being bullied. My daughter paid attention to it, but then she knows I'm boots in the ground. She called me to let me know how they handled it, and I didn't like how they handled it because the bully stayed in the classroom where my grandson was in the principal's office for 5 days. Why, if my grandson didn't do anything? And you are rewarding the bullier in the classroom. So
absolutely. You're sending the wrong message to the bully. You're sending the message that it's okay.
And of course, you know me, I went into the school, asked to speak to the principal, and I told them why was my grandchild penalized, and the bullier was in the classroom where he complained to me all the time what this bullier was doing to him, and he was like, I don't think it was fair that you had my grandson in your office every day when he did not do anything wrong. And, of course, I told him what I represent, who I am, and if he didn't want an issue with me and it was going to get ugly, we needed to fix it. I don't think
they want that.
No. And, and by me talking to him and letting him know what I represent, what I do, and what I saw that wasn't fair, he brought the other child into the office. I was able to question the child as to why he was calling my grandson, names and putting hands on, because I taught my grandson no matter if they put hands on you, don't do it back. Go to the proper, officials and speak to them. And if they don't listen to you, then you come to grandma. So I'm glad to say that situation was fixed. The child did apologize to my grandson.
I'm glad.
Yeah, and not only that, they became the bestest friends, because it's not how I spoke to the child, it's how I sat down on his level to say, what if it was not my grandson and it was another child that was putting hands on you and doing this to you? How would you feel? He told me I would feel terrible. I wouldn't feel good. I was like, then how you think he was making my grandson feel? So, instead of being...
you did the right thing, because, not cutting you off again, it's a lot of kids don't live in good living environments. So when they get to school, they act out. A lot of them don't get proper rest, proper meals. There's all different types of activity going on in these homes. And unfortunately, it affects our kids, We as adults, we have to do a better job of what we allow our kids to see in our house. I mean, when I was growing up, my parents were the best parents, but they didn't allow me and my brother to see certain things. They just wouldn't allow it. You understand what I'm saying? That's not to say they wasn't doing it. They just wouldn't allow me and my brother to see it. And I'm grateful for that today. I'm grateful for that today.
Which is good, which is absolutely good. Like I said, my household when I was growing up, it wasn't good as to, I'm a project of a dysfunctional, household. I saw many things that happened. I was like the black sheep. I was the one that got hit on. I was the one that had a slave through the house, take care of my siblings. And I used to question as to why was I always the one, and thoughts came to my head, Back then I didn't have people like an outlet or friends. I was like a little loner. So a lot of stuff started, growing inside of me. I had a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness towards, sorry to have to say, the mother that birthed me. She didn't earn that name for me to say the other word, sorry. If you see my podcast, you will see why I mention her that way. And, it's when I see those situations that I've overcome it, it acknowledges me now to be able to help others through what I went through because I've lived it. Maybe I didn't have someone to talk to, but I'll say, listen, I'm here.
Absolutely. You survived. So now you got the experience,
Exactly. And I don't have no bitterness. I try to understand with everything that I've learned that I said, well, maybe she went through something and probably didn't want to tell me when she was little if something happened to her or her parents did. And that's how I look at it. I don't play the blame game no more because I'll be like, maybe she didn't want to tell me what happened. But I try to understand, but that relationship, platonic? No, absolutely not, because of many things along the way that happened. And I said, it's better to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's better to not judge and to try to understand. So that's why I say that. I said, thank God I'm able to help certain situations. I mean, I know everything, but I try to learn from other experts. Like, I got this case, this happened, can you help me? So I'm a person that I'm not going to say I know it all, but I'm in the works of trying to learn through other people.
Well, let's say that you know what you know. How's that?
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Absolutely. So, I'm a good-hearted person. When I see some stuff that happens in this day and age now, you'd be like, wow, why? And I put myself in that position. That could have been me. What is that person thinking? And last week and this week that just started, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on in the news of murder, suicide.
Yes.
13-year-olds, guns in hands, and thinking, how do you get this thing that I'm talking? I got to say something up here. My kings and queens, I got to say something. I've had many people invite me to a shooting range. Many, many people. And I have to say that I have denied every offer that was sent to me because I am against gun violence. I'm against violence and it's all totality. I cannot see myself at a gun range holding that thing in my hand and shooting at whatever is in front of me because it goes totally against my beliefs. I can't hold that gun in my hand, and I'm preaching over here and educating people. And when I was invited, this is what the person told me. Okay, I understand you represent this, but at least accompany me. You don't know until you try. And I said, listen, you want to do it? Kudos.
You go
ahead. You go ahead. But listen, I represent this. I can't hold that and not even shoot it because I don't know myself how would I feel holding that in my hand. And I got so angry when I had so many people inviting me. I said, listen, you see what I represent? I can't see myself holding that. I don't want it as protection because I always say God protects me every single day of my life when I walk out that door. So that is my armor right there. Whatever's going to happen, it's up to him.
But I'd like to tell you got some really good armor.
I do.
Yeah.
So
because
I had
there's
to
a
put
lot
that.
of people that feel that way. I'm the same way. Like, even though my father was an avid gun collector, as far as myself is concerned, that would have to be one of my last resorts. Because, all types of things can happen when they're in the house, and I'm just one that believes in, I think conversation is the best way, Now, of course, everybody is not conversational, but there's other avenues you can go, because there's one thing about guns. Once the bullet fires, then you have no control over where it goes, and it would be a sad thing for an innocent person. Or for someone that you was having a disagreement with for that moment, and then you kill them perhaps, or they get hurt tragically, grief is going to come upon you and make you feel really bad, and I don't want to live with that type of spirit.
No, I understand. I'll tell you a testimony that actually happened. The guy came from the military. He was discharged for a medical leave. And I actually went in the household. I'm very good friends. Confidentiality, I'm not going to mention their own names, but I went to the household, and there was something that startled me was he had his gun in pure view sight. And I just was like, what is that doing out there when they have children? They have two children.
Right.
And you're going to see what happened later on. And, oh, no, I got a permit for that. And once we're discharged, we're able to keep our gun, but we have to keep it in the safe. I said, but that sucker is not in the safe right now. And you got two little children running around in this house that if it's loaded, they might think it's a toy. Okay. I told them to keep that in the safe. Now, Brian, you're going to see what happened. I get a phone call that one of the children thought it was a toy, picked it up, and he was 5 years old at the time, and he shot his foot.
See what
he
I mean?
Shot his foot. When I got the phone call, I know these people. I ran to the hospital. I wanted to make sure that the baby was okay. She was hysterically crying. He was holding his hands up against his head like, oh, my God. I'm looking at him like, dude, I want to kill you right now because I told you about that situation. And the moral of the story was so much of me nagging to make sure that was in the safe. I told him it should have not been in the household. She wasn't happy. His wife was not happy about having that particular thing in the house. And the aftermath, that months passed, the child picked up that gun, and thank God it was just a foot. It could have been his little brother, or it could have been...
It could have killed somebody.
Absolutely. And now they're facing, they face some charges where they didn't go to jail, but they were charged with child endangerment and stuff like that. Because he was in the military and stuff like that, the gun was taken, completely away from him because of the situation that happened. Now, 9 out of 10, I know we have military people that are coming out and probably they go on disability. And I've seen in many households that this thing is, it's in a lock, or sometimes they have it out there like it's nothing. And I say be mindful that we have children. Be mindful that sometimes you come out with PSTD. You come out with those situations. And like you just said, mental health, it plays a big role. One day you can snap.
Absolutely.
You pick that up and you don't know what you're going to do that day. And this little child now has the size of a little hole.
Also, Francesca, not to cut you off, but anger. People do a lot of stupid things in anger. And if you have access and you're angry, then the sky's the limit. You can't never predict what someone will do in anger.
Oh, yeah.
I think about how many people are dead or in prison because of anger, and for those 5 to 7 seconds, they did something that now the anger is gone that they're sorry for. You understand what I mean? So we have to be mindful of that, you know. We have to be mindful of that. And
No,
I'm just a firm believer. I'm just a firm believer that conversation is the best way to resolve situations with your mate, your boyfriend, a potential like, girlfriend, wife. Listen, you can resolve anything with conversation. You know, you don't have to resort to anger to resolve anything, because at the end of the day, it only escalates to more anger, you know?
Well, absolutely. And you know what? And the aftermath of that child that shot himself in the foot now was traumatized because he didn't understand what he did. You know, it's not his fault. And now he has that, you know, in his head where, you know, he was told what he picked up. It wasn't good. But now he has a scarring. For the rest of his life, he has a bullet hole in the center of his feet that went right through. So, you know, I'm totally, like I said, kudos to whoever believes in, you know, that phrase that they said, to bear arms. Okay, it's up there and stuff like that. And no judgmental. Kudos if you want to keep one in your home. Me, I'm not for it. I'm not for those shooting range. It just goes against my beliefs. I don't like them things at all whatsoever. So you would not catch me or posting a video of me there. Kudos who invited me. They went. They put it up there. When I saw them shooting, I was just like, oh, my God. When I actually saw the video, I said, how can you hold that piece in your hand, shoot at that object? And I just kept hearing that boom, boom, boom. And I just was jumping on the other side. Like, that's why I would never hold it. Because like you said, a bullet doesn't have a name. That's one. Nope. And the speed that that bullet goes, you don't know if it ricochets from the wall, hits the individual, and there we go.
I think you're doing the right thing. If I sound a little distant, that's because I'm hanging up my clothes from the workday. So if I sound a little distant, I'm hanging up my clothes.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just glad you're here and giving your input. If there's anyone up here that I see, people up here, if you have anything to say or give your opinion on murder-suicide, you can unmute yourself. But in the meanwhile, I will be giving some pointers of what to report and how to report it, and to be very mindful and sensitive. If you see a situation arise, or even if you witness it, be very mindful of the details of how you're going to describe the incident, because my data, which I'll read, it says there is a risk of triggering copycat behavior by other vulnerable individuals. When you are going to report an incident, be extremely careful, very careful, and not too dramatic of what you witnessed, of what you saw. Try to stay, you know, minimum on point. No over-exaggerate. If you saw Peter and Paul fighting, you can just say, well, Paul was the one that, you know, put the gun up in the air, and that one was trying to talk them down. Don't say they were tussling when they weren't. Your surroundings also, when you're specifying the incident, look at your surroundings, who is listening, and there's children around, you know, because sometimes they say what they see is what they learn, what they hear is what they copy, and I've seen that.
That's right.
Yeah, I've seen that many times. In the household, I've seen that if it's a couple, that individual will say, she's a B, the child will hear it and will, you know, imitate that. And I've seen it happen. I was like, yo, wait a minute, why did you say that? And he was like, oh, because I saw mommy's boyfriend say it to him, so I thought it was a good word. And I break it down, and I said, no, it's not a good word. And when you see adults talking or speaking, do not copy that, because it will, the turnaround for you will be worse. If he goes into the school and calls the teacher a B, not acknowledging what the word means, what you think the teacher going to do?
Mm-hmm.
take it down the food chain, and he can actually get suspended, because now in this day and age, if you're 5 years old or you're even in daycare, I've seen kids expelled. Even in daycare, I've seen expelled. If you see some of these videos that are going viral on Facebook, I saw something real sad in a daycare, people, where a beautiful young little girl was rapping a song, and the song was very explicit, and you seen these little children dancing, twerking, and I was like, hold up. Am I looking at what I'm looking at? Is this video for real? And it was. And it went to my Kings and Queens. It went to over 3,000 views. And the messages in the comments were absolutely off the chain. Like, who are the parents? You know, who are the parents of these children? The little girl that was rapping was saying so many explicit words that I said, wow, my beautiful little girl, when you grow up, look at what you're learning. And tomorrow, the aftermath, we can't blame nobody but the parents.
Absolutely.
This child is going to grow up already that she was saying explicit stuff. There was another young little boy that I seen also. It went viral. At the age of 6, he's rapping. And the stuff that he's saying, come on, it's and I got to say, we're all adults here. Women are not hoes. A 6-year-old should not be saying that word and saying clocking is my money and clocking is my thing and F these. You know, this is a 6-year-old. And you're agging this 6-year-old saying that he's singing good, he has a prominent future. A prominent future to what? He's only 6 years old. He's supposed to be in school, educating him. Okay, you want to go into the rapping industry, do it at a certain age that you have knowledge of what you're saying from your mouth. And he's 6 years old. Can somebody tell me what is the product and what is his future when he finally grows up that he thinks women are hoes and clocking money is the best thing? This child should be learning in school, educational-wise, and not thinking that fast money and hoes are going to get him there. And he's 6 years old. I wanted to cry when I saw this video at a friend's house, and I said, wow, that is horrible. Where are the parents? What are you showing these children? Or are these parents even egging him on, seeing that there's a future in this, and then you're setting him up for failure? Because all he sees, you know, for failure, and I have to say, that you're setting him up for failure because he's only 6 years old. Then we wonder why we have murders, why we have suicide, why we have homicide, why we have so many children already addicted to drugs, you know, prostitution, alcoholism, cutting themselves, popping pills, and then we wonder what is going on in the household, and then we hear, I don't know, it's not happening here. And I said, no, it starts from the home. We want to blame the school, we want to blame the peers, but no, we can't. It got to start from the home. I understand that sometimes we have dysfunctional households. I was brought up in one. I'm not a product of anything that's happening because my mindset, I learned to deal at a young age. What I saw, though I wasn't taught, I knew it was wrong. I knew certain things, how I was being raised was not correct. And as young as I was a smart cookie to understand, okay, that's not the way you're supposed to treat me, because when I see Susan's mother picking her up, I see a hug and a kiss. How you doing? How's your homework? I've been to many childhood friends' homes where I see that what I went through, they didn't. And I saw that my reality at home was very dysfunctional compared to other households. And I started computing my mindset in education and getting out of that situation when I grew up. That was my mindset. But we have children that now a lot of stuff is so accessible. Computers, TikToks, social media, and friends like, okay, babe, your mother, your father won't know. I'm not going to say nothing. Smoke a little weed. Don't worry, they're not going to find out. And then your child is setting themselves up for,
yes,
and
I also think one of the most worst things they did was legalize it. I think it was
yes.
It was clearly somebody pushing their own personal agenda because marijuana is the gateway. Most people don't understand there's a scientific part to getting high. Your endorphins that are in your brain, once they reach a certain level of highness, it craves that on a regular basis. And if it can't get that, it wants to go to another level.
Thank you.
And most people don't understand that there's a scientific part to your endorphins. Your endorphins let you know what you like, what is you don't like, what's your sensations, what's not. And, once you open a person's mind up to just being high, period, then it's going to crave that, and then later on it's going to want more. Once the tolerance level reaches that level, it's going to say, okay, now what's next? So I think whoever legalized marijuana, they should be now not employed. But, I'm going to leave that to the big guy in the sky to deal with that because, we have a lot of people that's in position of power who are pushing their agenda for the sake of finances. And unfortunately, this money thing that's going on out here with people that are in high places, it creates a lot of evil. And unfortunately, it rolls down the hill. And we, the little people, we have to deal with it. And so we just have to, like you said, I think tonight you've been saying that the best thing is communication to your children and to your loved ones. I think that's the best effective way that we can prevent a lot of stuff is constantly talking to our children and our loved ones and telling them the truth too, Francesca. Kids aren't stupid. What I mean? Just tell them. Just, take them for a drive. Take them for a walk if you don't have a car. Put them on the bus and take them and let them see the effects of these things when humans engage in it, and it just might deter them,
No, absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up about speaking truth because when I was growing up, and we had this conversation, I think a couple of months ago, where I said I was told the birds and the bees. It's not the birds and the bees. A bee did not poke me, and I naturally died.
Absolutely wasn't no bee.
It wasn't no bee. And now, when we spoke, that I think Lavinia from Florida that came on, this generation now, and I have the authority and the permission to speak, my 8-year-old grandson one day said, I asked Mommy where I came from, and she told me her stomach. No, my grandson, listen, and I'm saying the testimony, I saw it with my own eyes. He told me, she told me the stomach, I know exactly. It took a man and a woman and this and that. He broke it down to me, and I felt like,
you see what I mean?
Yeah, 8 years old, and he broke it down to me, and I ran into the room, and I told my daughter, did you speak to Isaiah about where he came from? And she was like, yeah, I said my stomach. I said, but did he tell you his version of how? No. I was like, well, he actually said he came through your private part, and we're all adults here, and he broke it down to me, and he's 8 years old. When he broke this down to me, he was 6 years old. My kids included, he was 6 years old. When I came to find out about when they were trying to introduce sex education classes, I was 14. That's why I said this generation, you can't sugarcoat. You can sit with them. My grandson looks at the news and he sees, oh, this person shot this person did this, and I saw this person beat this person up, and he breaks down to you as to why these people do such heinous stuff. I can't say what he saw wasn't true. I can't say Isaiah that wasn't. No, because I'm shutting him from the truth, because at the end of the day, the streets will show you. People will show you. And that's why we have been. I thank you so much for saying that, because I'm a straight shooter. I tell my kids when they were growing up, listen, if you in heat, you let me know, because this one will run to Planned Parenthood and get you condoms. I would speak to my daughter and be like, listen, I don't want you pregnant. I don't want no influential girls telling you do this, do that. Whenever you feel pressure about anything, you come to me and you speak to me. As a mother, as a friend, I'm not going to yell or nothing, because I didn't want my kids, thank God, when they got older is when they gave me grandbabies, because I was on them. I didn't want a 13, 14, 15-year-old daughter of mine being pregnant at a young age and having that responsibility towards me, because one, she can't work, two, I still want her in school, and my two sons now are 31, which has no kids, and my daughter was the one that close to 19 was the one that graduated out of high school when she had my first grandson. But it was because I was there, always talking to them, and I was saying, listen, do not do this if you don't know the responsibility that comes behind it. And I spoke to them how hard it was as a single mom, even being married, raising them, and they see now when they're paying bills. My 30-year-old one son be like, Mommy, I don't know how you do it, how you pay rent, how you pay phones, food. Sometimes I got to budget my money to see what I can pay. And when they see for themselves as adults what we struggle, then they know and appreciate what you did, because I'm seeing it.
Right. That's when they have appreciation, when they have to do it themselves, you know?
Themselves. But if you give,
and another thing too, Francesca, not to cut you off again, but I think today's society, I think too many parents are trying to be their kids' friends.
Yeah, we can't.
And I think that's not good. I mean, you can have a relationship with your kids. There's nothing wrong with that. But you are not their friend. You are their parent. You are the guide for them, so that when they leave your house and go out into this world, they're prepared. I just think that a lot of parents want to be their kids' friends, and that's not the way to do it, you know? You have to be their parent, you know?
Absolutely. And, well, you know what? I had a thing with my children, and like I said, what works for me might not work for somebody else. If they had a sensitive subject of something they wanted to say, you know, mommy mode would come in fierce, a friend mode would come in impartial, you know, advice. And I have with the boys and my daughter always saying, listen, when you want to say something to me, I'm your mom. When you want to say something to me differently and you want an advice, then we can talk as friends, but acknowledging the fact I'm your mother and I'm listening to this, but I'll give you an advice like a friend. If my daughter saw something that wasn't, you know, I'll give her an example. She had these two friends grew up together that everybody thought she was my other daughter too, because they were always together and they looked like Siamese twins. Her friend would call her mother Gloria. And I would walk in the house and she'd be like, Gloria, I need this. This is the daughter. Gloria, I need this. Gloria, I need that. And I'm like, hold up. I would look at the mom. I said, can I ask you a question? Why is your daughter calling you by your first name? Oh, she always had. No. I'm not going to tell you how to raise your daughter, but I'll be damned that my daughter calls me by my first name. Don't allow that. That's so disrespectful. I told as a friend to a friend, that's so disrespectful. I would never allow my daughter to call me by my first name. Here it comes, Brian. A couple of weeks passed. My daughter wasn't there when that happened. And she was like, Mom, how would you feel if I called you Francesca? I turned around, and if I had bullets in my eyes, bombs coming out, water bottles or whatever, I looked at her, I said, say what now? How would I feel if you called me Francesca? I was like, no. you will call me mom. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. I don't care if you're 100 years old. I am your mom. You will not refer me as Francesca, because there's a level of respect where I can call you by your name because you are my daughter. But you will never, in the presence of anyone, call me Francesca, because that is disrespectful, because I am your mom. That was the end of that conversation.
Absolutely.
The other young lady that grew up with my daughter often came to my house, and I would sit with her and be like, listen, your mom is your mom. Don't call her Gloria. That's so disrespectful. I was like, and I was mentoring her, because she would always say F you to her mom whenever she said something wrong. I said, oh, if my daughter would have done that, I'd knock all her teeth. And a situation like that arose one time, and where my daughter witnessed that happened. And my daughter told her, listen, I say F you to my mom, and my mom will make sure all my teeth are knocked out of my mouth. I can never speak to her like that. So the moral of the story of the whole thing is, this beautiful friend of hers grew up to be a mother of 2 autism children. She is a teacher's aide for special education, owns her own car, paid in full, has her own apartment. And it was me educating her. Though she wasn't my daughter, but I was educating her, because you're going to be around my daughter. And you're not going to give her that influence. And I'm not going to have that problem. So not up here. So you can educate other children based on the respect that you have with the parents. You know what I mean? I never overstepped my boundaries, but whenever I saw something, I said something. And now the young lady nowadays calls me mom. How you doing? And like I said, they grew up to be, you know, like sisters. Everybody thought they were twins. Even though she was not my biological daughter, I took her in and I helped her out. You know what I mean? And sometimes parents don't like that. But I had this trust with this woman, and I educated her and mentored her to the point where she got to respect me and got to respect her mother by calling her mother no longer Gloria or using profanity, because I told her God is going to punish you with your own children or in life when you grow up and you see what your mother had to go through to even raise you, and you're going to want that respect from your children. And she's seeing it now.
Absolutely.
You know, so she's seeing it.
That's another good point, Francesca. We as parents and adults, we have to stand our ground as adults and parents. And if we stand our ground, young people or older people or adults, they'll come to respect you if you just stand your ground, you know. You have to stand your ground. Believe what you believe, and stand on it, you know. And as long as the principles are correct, as long as they don't cause harm to others, then I think it's a good thing for you to stand on whatever. And I say that in retrospect because, you know, a lot of people start tagging religion and denominations for things, and that causes separation.
No,
I just think the principles of what's right is best for all of us as humans to stand on, and ever how we got to get to it, we got to get to it, because clearly what's going on here now is not working.
No, it's horrible. You know, it's horrible, the stuff I'm seeing. It's reality, what's going on. We can no longer say we're going to shut our eyes and act like it's not happening. You know, our youth we're losing our youth to the streets. We're using our youth to, you know, peer pressure, basically to, you know, open to everything that's going on. So, like I said, there's a mutual communication, respect. I don't, there's a limit of privacy to a certain extent. But like the topic I was talking tonight, you have to be mindful. And if you have to ransack a drawer to see what's going on and question, you know, I've had parents that found marijuana You know, I've had parents tell me, listen, how do I speak to my child? I found a little package of marijuana. I don't know whether she's using it or holding it for somebody else. Well, talk to her. Underneath the bed of a son, I found alcoholic. Speak to him before it goes any further. Do not be scared, because this is your child. And the aftermath, you are going to be solely responsible of what's going to happen. Furthermore, for not speaking, because I always have a saying, see something, say something. It doesn't matter in the household who it is. Question it. My kids, like I said, they grew up where you couldn't sit on your uncle or your aunt's lap. That's a no-no to me.
Right,
you wasn't going to do that.
Absolutely.
No. And people will be like, oh, my God, you're so... No. You're not with my child. I'm sorry. And if you get upset, my apologies, my rules, my children will sit in a chair on a sofa. They can give you the hand and say hello, but no daughter of mine is sitting on no uncle, brother, no laps. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Also with my boys. And if we were talking as adults, you needed to go in the room, because I always said, mind your business when adults are talking. If it has nothing to do with you, you got to go in the room. That's how I raised my children, and I never had an issue. But when I see certain parents not say something or do something about it, then you wonder why Timmy, Mary, Bobby, Susan, Cindy went off and did this and went off and did that. And let me tell you something. These children now in this generation, if I was to go out to try to get a gun, I would have a huge problem. I would have a huge problem trying to get a gun. But these youngsters, when you turn around, they got one. And not one, they got two. And
That's
not
right.
paying for it freebie. Question why your child has that. Turn it in. Don't be scared to tell your children, because then you don't want them in the news. I look at the news, Bronx, New York, Brooklyn, Manhattan.
Man.
It's awful. It's awful.
It's depressing. It's depressing.
No, and then you can't ask why. And we can't say, how did that happen? Because you have to look and always wonder and question. Let me tell you something. My kings and queens, if one of my children did anything, I'd be the first one as a mother to turn them in. I'm not going to shun or cover it, because we can't. And we have parents that they know their children did something and they cover up, and you're making the situation worse. If he shot that person or he hurt that young lady, be the first one to say, listen, here he is, go ahead. You did the crime, you did the time. Take me down the road. But it was your fault that you did what you did. But as a mother, I'm not going to hide it, because I'm implicating and I'm accepting that he's doing that or she's doing that, and I'm at fault too. Because it's my child? No. Okay. So sometimes we have to speak. If he did something, you owning up to it. And it's not being a whistleblower. It's not being, oh, you're supposed to be my mom. You're supposed to I'm protecting you from yourself and from somebody else by doing the right thing. So if you're going to hate me, it's going to be a short term. But at least I'm not hindering the situation that you did. And when we do that, then we wonder why our children do the stuff they do. I've taught my children, you see that teacher, you act like you see my face. In that teacher's face, the same way you respect me, you got to respect that teacher. I'm that type of mother that I don't allow it. I'm never going to allow it. And if we don't step up to the plate, then we see suicides. Then we see murders. Then we see gangbangs. Then we see, and we can't question it if we are allowing it. And I'm not going to say that if all blames go to the parents, because we have awesome parents that probably are doing what I did, and something might fall through the cracks. We can't blame. You can't blame it if they find out later on, because they'll be like, well, I searched, I saw it, and he was, okay, we can't blame. But what you're going to do once you finally find out that your child did that, it's what's going to speak about you as a parent and as your character. I don't want to hear, oh, my Mary couldn't have done that. It had been the other child, or no, you got a mistake. No, if all the proof is there, you have to own up to that. Your child did that. So tomorrow he's not a Timothy McVeigh. Tomorrow he's not an abuser or her abuser, because if we don't own up to it, then I always say we are the problem. We are never going to be the solution.
Francesca?
Yes. Hi, Ivania. How you doing? Happy International Women's Day. That I said my kings and queens from the beginning of my program. It's an everyday thing for us. So happy International Women's Day to everybody that's up here and to you, Dominique. You have the floor.
Thank you. And same to you and all the ladies and gentlemen, to your ladies as well. Correct, Francesca?
Yes.
That's right. So I just wanted to give opinion. I saw your subject was going to be about murder-suicide. And I'll go to that, but I just want to go to the parents and the children and the friendship and the respect. So my sister had her first child at 15. Her child grew up in the house with us, calling mommy, mommy, and calling her by her first name. So they grew up hearing and calling her by her first name. And there wasn't a level of disrespect. They knew she was her mother, but they called as they saw. Just like when our parents' friends are around us a lot, we will then call them auntie, though they're not really our aunts. And it was out of respect. It was not to walk around and call them Julie or Zelda, But what I call you isn't who you are, even if it's in a defamatory way. For me, that's how I feel. And that the level of respect we give each other is based on each other. It's not, to me, really in a name. But of course, there are those cases when, the young people do grow up and they're teenagers and they're still doing it. And someone could observe them and say, hey, wait, why are you calling this person that? And this is your mother. Well, it's good to know where it came from. So sometimes when we look at that age range between the mother and the child, they could have been children together in a way. They could have been growing up with a mommy that the mother called mommy. So the child then repeated, as we know they do, what they hear. And then I also agree with you because it is respect, but respect isn't what you call me, it's what you show me. Back and forth. And one of the statements I hate, it makes my no hair curl when I hear someone say, don't talk to me like I'm a child. I look at them and say, what are you trying to say? It's okay to disrespect children because they're children. No, what you should be saying is don't disrespect me. I'm not going to accept it, or just stop talking to them. But when I hear people say, don't talk to me like I'm a child, it's like, what is that? Like people will say to little boys, oh, you acting like a little girl because they're crying. So certain words, and those are words that are just common, but what they infer, I think is the word, what they reference is that one person deserves more than the other. Don't talk to me like I'm a child. Well, you're immature if you say that to me. But when it comes to murder-suicide, when I met the gentleman in the gas station and I was talking to him about my book, he says, sister, check this out. He was in the hospital. They gave him his medication. He called out to the nurses and asked, what did you give me? He was a retired paramedic. He said, what did you give me? And they kind of just wrote him off, kept talking, and he yelled, screamed, and did those other words that we were just talking about that could be really offensive. He got their attention. Oh, why? Are you having suicidal thoughts like cookies and ice cream or something? He said, no, it's telling me to pick up these scissors and stab you in your neck. The medication was giving him homicidal thoughts. And when he told me that, immediately I thought about the reported cases of murder-suicides. How about something made the person act and hurt the people around them. And when that something was no longer in their body, because it's an influence. People think it's Satan and God and all that other stuff. No, it's chemical influences. It's chemical imbalances. Not that anybody's doing drugs. Like, he wasn't doing drugs, illegal drugs. He was given a medication that changed chemically what was going on in his body and in his mind. And luckily, he was strong enough in his mind to say, hey, we got a problem here. But not everybody can do that. Not that they're not strong in their mind, but you don't even actually feel it coming in some cases. But what if that is the case? What if these cases of murder-suicides are that there was a chemical imbalance that caused this action, the first action, and when the person came back to normal and saw what they did, devastated, they just took their own lives. That could be the case in so many cases.
Absolutely.
And we don't know because they don't talk about it. PBS had a production, and I said last week I was going to go back and look at it. When I received the call to turn it on, it was maybe like in the third segment, but they were talking about why people commit suicide. And in the 6 segments that I heard, never once did they say medication. But they tell us that in the commercials can cause sadness, depression, and suicidal thoughts. We hear that, right?
Absolutely.
What if we need to add homicidal thoughts to it? Based on what I'm convinced we do, based on what he told me, being a retired paramedic, there was no reason for him to lie to me. We weren't on our way into court,
Yeah.
So, but that production, it tells you the agenda makers who finance that, they talked about drugs, they talked about social issues, domestic issues, everything that I heard. Again, I missed the first 3 segments, but I'm sure at the top of the show they never said can cause sadness, depression, and suicidal thoughts, and the pharmaceutical industry is partly responsible. I'm sure they didn't say that. But this gentleman told me, so just for the listeners, a veteran. I was speaking to him. He was a veteran, and he was a medic. And he told me one of the things that the medication will do is deplete your protein. And if you have low proteins, it can throw off your neurotransmitters. So your thinking and your feelings can go with it. And that's why they say can cause sadness, which is, I would say, a first step, right? Depression or suicidal thoughts. And all of those things that it could cause, as well as homicidal thoughts, if you believe my story, it's not always gradual. Sometimes it's immediate. But I also think to myself, these chemical reactions, how about all the other chemicals that we're taking in, that we're putting on our skin, that's in our social drinks? I would never drink anything called hypnotic because you're not even hiding your intention. Because there is a drink on the bar shelf called hypnotic.
Yep.
I would never touch it. Not the way I think, right?
No, absolutely.
But so you have cigarettes. You have cigarettes. And now I can't believe there's that many tobacco fields. Maybe there are. I haven't taken an aerial view. But I strongly believe that they're like shaving down these trees and processing them. Because, they can make plastic look like pantyhose. Nylon is plastic, So if they can do that, they can do anything else short of that. And I'm sure they're using chemicals to create a whole lot of things that we're using. And this is why a lot of people are diagnosed sometimes and sometimes never diagnosed with issues and disorders. I'm just saying. But thank you, Francesca. Thank you. Welcome back.
No, thank you so much. And please, for everyone that's listening, because I have new people here, please announce your podcast and your book. Because we got new listeners here. We have Brian that's been on my podcast twice already. And let him know what podcast you have so he can also support you and your books too.
Absolutely. The lady just made a lot of good points, and I'd like to add to that. The side effects if you really look at the side effects of what most medicines carry, it do more harm to you than it does any good.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you, a lot of times I'll be watching television and I'm watching information and they're advertised whatever it might be. And then when I read all of the side effects in my mind, I'm saying, you know what, it's better off if I don't take this. Because like the lady said, Francesca, she was right. On the medical side, what if there's no gradual movement? What if it's just all of a sudden, boom, and that's it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a valid point.
I can give you an example of that, and it's in the book as well. Beautiful Saturday, the lady was driving down the street doing her shopping. She heard in her head, faster, 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 now crash.
Wow.
That's what she heard in her head. And she pulled over,
faster.
Crash. And she pulled over, and she was like, what was that? And thankfully, being a free-thinking woman, when she went home and checked the new medication they had given her as a dialysis patient, one of the side effects was suicidal thoughts. See, because even though they tell us that, nobody but me, no, I mean, I'm sure others too, but nobody really says what the thought would sound like. And so people are walking around thinking, first of all, they're thinking, not me, that'll never happen to me, even if they hear it with the prescription that they're receiving. Everybody's in a not me mode, just like you said with when the children are out there, unfortunately, grown up a little bit, doing the bad things. Parents want to say, not my child, not my child, not my child, but you're looking at all the evidence all around your child, But the same way you say, not my child, some of those same people will say, oh, that can't happen to me. I knew this guy who I thought was in his right mind, even though he was a Scorpio, so that's another story. But he was a bus driver. And he said, you know what? This was in the 90s, early 90s. He said, I want to try crack because I want to see, like, what's turning people out. And I'm thinking to myself, you have already gone, But in his mind, he actually had that not me mentality. Because if you see people spinning around on the street, walking, stripping, and this is the effect of something, and you're sitting here saying you want to try it to see what it is? Really? Like, you have already lost your mind, so you would just be taking the chemical to meet you halfway. You've already lost your mind. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, so I am Yvonne. My podcast is Yvonne with Company, Talk Worth Listening To. It's on here, the Grown Folk Talking Network, Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we're live. And my two books, the first one, Suicide is a Serious Killer, Let's End It Today. And the second one. That's right. Did you say that's right?
Yeah, we got to end it today. We got to kill it. We got to stop it.
You got it. That's it. I say it's a statement and a call to action. But because that word suicide hits people so hard, I literally said for 4 days, driving, talking to myself. You could talk to yourself, you could answer yourself, and you could re-answer yourself. So this is how the conversation went in my head for 4 days. I need a softer title so that people would be invited to read the book. And I would hear, it's right in front of your face. And I would say, it's right in front of, like, what's right in front of my face? This is a conversation I was having with self for 4 days until I was speaking to one of my writers, and I'm looking at her in the mirror, and then you were just talking about the book and life and everything. And I was like, mind is to mental as teeth are to dental, and we all have a mind. Right. And she said, oh, my God, that makes so much sense. And when she said it, I'm looking in the mirror, and I was like, doing, doing, because I had been saying it for like 6 or 7 months in conversation. Mind is to mental as teeth are to dental, and we all have a mind. What was right in front of my face was people's expressions whenever I would say that, and I saw that when I looked at her in the mirror. So that's the title of the second book. And I will tell you, each and every time I keep saying this, I'm almost sounding like Les Brown. I used to always say I can't listen to him because he keeps repeating himself. But now I'm realizing if you're repeating yourself and it's valuable information, then it's okay. So Whenever I'm at an event and someone picks up the book and opens it, they'll read, look at me and say, thank you, I needed that. And I just look up because my co-author is the creator. So I look up and I just say thank you, not to them.
Right.
And I don't even ask them what. That's between them and my co-author, the creator. I just say thank you. I know I've done a good job by listening, and I just hope it gets out there so that people can hear and understand. It's motivation, inspiration, information. I demystify suicide. I have a friend who's a veteran, and she hates that word demystify. She said, why do you keep saying you demystify? Why do you use that word? I said, because to a lot of people it's a mystery. That's why they don't talk about it. It's like the boogeyman. But I demystify it. I break it down in layman and lay lady terms. Suicide is not what you think it is. It is not always somebody who wants to end their life. It's not. Sometimes it's not even a suicide. It's an uninvestigated homicide. Did you know? Did you know?
That's possible. That's possible. That's possible.
Oh yeah.
All of those points are valid points, and that's the goal, Francesca, is to have an open dialogue, because we all are gathering information from each other that we might become better people. It's no one right or wrong way. It's the information highway, and we are the people that's going to bring the information so that we might become better and be able to help other people. And I'm just the type of man that I love information because I understand information is power. And the more information you have, the more powerful you become. I often tell people, if you change your mind, you can change your life. That's what I often tell people. Everything starts in your mind, So the more information you gather, as long as it's on a plus level and not a negative, you can do great things. So I just want to thank you, ma'am or miss, for your writing. And you can send that information to my email, and I'll keep up with you, and I'll read some of your books. And one day I'll get a chance to meet you and just tell you thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. May I have your email?
My email is Bryant James, that's BRYANT James, JAMES, 1127 @gmail.com. That's Bryant James, BRYANT JAMES, 1127 @gmail.com.
Thank you very much. And can I just add something, Francesca?
Sure, sweetheart. Go ahead.
So, when you said changing your mind can change literally your life, it can change your day. I have it in the book for anyone who is feeling like, if they happen to be feeling like they no longer want to live this life, I tell them, pack your things and move. Because the life you don't want to live is the one you're living today. You could move 10 blocks away and your life can be completely different. And I give them the example of when we were children and we knew we had a trip on Friday. Even if we were the worst behaved all year, we're going to be the best behaved if it's a trip we want to go on. Because we're putting in our minds the excitement of that trip. So we change our behavior. We do all our homework, all our classwork, no red X's anywhere, so that we can go on that trip. So you can do the same thing. Even though I say pack your things and move, not everybody can do it immediately. But when you put in your mind your new plan and you start living in that new plan, your life will change from that moment on.
Absolutely. I know because I live it, and I'm not going to get into that. I'll hold that for another podcast. But Francesca knows a little bit of my history, and I love her for it because she has watched me transform from one person to another, and the only thing I did different was just start thinking different. And it's worked for me. It's working for me, and I'm going to continue to do it because now I have the ability to help others, and at the end of the day, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And the young lady is...
Francesca. To the lady tonight, thank you so much.
Yeah, the young lady is Ivana. She is absolutely wonderful. We have connected in such a beautiful way. I really say support her podcast. I've been on it, and boy, I've learned some stuff, and those books are amazing. And now, even though I don't like ending my podcast because the conversation gets so good and the topic gets so good, and I always say supporting each and one of each other, that's all it's all about. But if you're still available at 8 o'clock, John Monroe is going to be on for vision care. And I also have to announce that Grown Folks Talking is going to have an event August the 10th, 2024. In a couple of months, it's going to be in North from 12 to 6 on Saturday. Everybody's going to be there. You get to meet every single podcast owner of their title there. And it's going to be a wonderful event with a lot of vending, a lot of stuff. And I do not want to end my program without saying I really dearly miss Dr. James. May he rest in peace. He has left like a little gap in my heart because I miss him. Also, prayers up for a wonderful queen that's always on everybody's podcast, Latoya, who I love very, very much. And just stay blessed, and hopefully everyone can come out to the August 10th event. I will be announcing it every time on my podcast. You get to meet everybody there that has a podcast. You get to meet these young ladies and the kings that are also up here. So I will be always mentioning the August 10th event. And if you want to stay for John Monroe's at 8 o'clock Vision Care, please support him. We have a lot of people that rock that have amazing podcasts. So thank you for coming in tonight. I praise God that I was able to do the podcast because I have been under the weather because of this allergy, and I know it's going around. So just be, mindful and be very careful. The weather's supposed to be rising up this week, and that's how people get sick with the hot and cold. So enjoy this beautiful weather this week. Enjoy your weekend, and I can't wait to be with you guys next Wednesday. Before I end, I have to say that God is everything in my life. Next week on Friday in the City Council, third floor, 6 o'clock, I will be honored Woman that Rocks by the Councilwoman Lalisa Mins, among other women on the sideline that are doing wonderful things in the city of Patterson. And I just love the whole list of the honorees, including me up there. But I just love the whole list that are up there, amazing women that are doing beautiful things in the community. And that's what it's all about when it's different faces and different situations that you see. And I have been involved with some of these ladies that do absolutely amazing things with the seniors, with the children, and it's just wonderful. So I'm going to be amongst those women next week on Friday, and I just give the honor to God for bestowing that beautiful. I never look for recognition, so if it comes, welcome, but my biggest recognition is
I just want to say congratulations.
God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, because I know you're going to be there.
And I'd also like to say, and also I'd like to say this to all the smart, beautiful ladies on the podcast tonight, is that beside every great man is a great woman.
Thank you. Amen. Amen to that.
Francesca.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, sis? Wonderful show. We need to give Brian a show up here. We call it Brian's Dating Game, because she sounds like a good matchmaker up here. Hey, Brian, we're going to give you a show up here, Brian. You sound like a great matchmaker, brother.
Yeah, I love you too. It's about love with me, my friend. We got enough hate in the world,
Hey, listen, that's what makes your dating game powerful, brother. That love that you're gonna be showing, hooking people up. Oh, Francesca, your thing is at the City Council chambers?
Yeah, City Hall. Next week, March the 27th. The 22nd at 6 o'clock on the third floor in Patterson City Hall, 155 Market Street.
Yeah, I know where it is because I used to promote in Patterson a while back in the 90s. Let me ask you a question. Is it open to the public?
Absolutely. All are invited. All are invited to go up there.
Mm-hmm.
All are invited. So it's an open invitation.
I don't have anything scheduled, so I'm going to try to shoot up in that piece. I'll give you a call before then.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Come here and support my mouth, sis.
Thank you so much. I do it for all women. When I stand up there, it's not just me. I tell everybody that I thank everybody that supported me, and I include men and women to put me where I'm at because I couldn't do it alone. It's not a me thing. It's a we thing. So I'm very honored that they're doing this, and I'm going to be among other women that are also getting recognized that, like I said, are doing beautiful things. And I embrace that when it's other women because, you know, I'm an OB already. So, yes, all are welcome. 155 Market Street, City Hall on the 3rd floor. Come there and, you know, enjoy the presence of, I think it's about 20 women that are getting honored. 20 women, so it's a wonderful thing. So come up there. The invite is open to the public.
Okay.
All right, so I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you so much. Prayers up for healing, and enjoy this beautiful weather that we're going to have this week. So, and just be mindful and be careful. Wealth is health.
Thank you. Congratulations, Francesca.
Thank you so much, Ivane.
Good night, Francesca, and always, always stay in peace. Stay in peace.